Welcome to Nature's Guardians. I'm Micah Siegel. Each week, I talk with people working to save and help animals around the world. They are nature's guardians, and you can become one too. Today, I'm talking with Lucas and Berce of Okapi Conservation. Welcome to the show, Lucas and Berce.
Thanks, Micah. We're really happy to
Thank
be
you.
here.
Looking forward to the conversation. First of all, what are Okapis?
Okapi are the closest living relative to the giraffe. They're only found in the Democratic Republic of Congo in the dense rainforests, and they look like a chocolate brown horse with white stripes on its behind and legs. And they're not related to zebras. They're the closest living relative to the giraffe.
What else can you tell us about Okapis?
Okapi is a quiet animal living in the rainforest in wild in my country, and then it just give one baby after almost
13 months.
13 months. Yeah, that's all.
Sure, I'll add. They will eat over 100 different species of leaves, but we've learned that they have preference for 36 species, and they give birth to one calf after a 13-month gestation. And when the baby is born, they don't poop for the first 60 days of their life. They find a corner or a log or between buttress roots of a tree, and they create a nest. And they stay in that nest for about 2 months, and they don't poop at all. And what happens is the mother will communicate through infrasound, where she will send sound waves below our hearing, below the hearing of their predators, which are leopards, their main predator. And the mother will call the baby out of the nest to come nurse. The mother never approaches the nest because she doesn't want to leave her scent behind. And then after about 2 months, the baby will start following the mother around, and that's when it will start pooping. So their color pattern, they look like a chocolate brown horse with white stripes on their back. Here's a little example. This is a female okapi. So they look chocolate brown, and then they have stripes on their butt and on their legs. And they feel like velvet. If you ever had the opportunity to touch an okapi at a zoo, they feel like velvet. And when you pet them, you get a brown oil on your hands and fingers. And that's thought to do a few things. It helps potential waterproofing in the rainforest, but also it thought to help deter insects from biting them.
Do you have jaguars in that forest, and do you look after them too?
We do not have jaguars. Jaguars are native to Central and South America, but we do have leopards, which are in the forest in Congo. And they are the main predator of Okapi. We don't have any programs that directly support the protection of leopards, but they are a protected species in the forest, and we educate communities to let them know that they are a protected species, that they shouldn't be killed. And so in a way, we indirectly are helping protect leopards, but our primary focus is Okapi.
And what does your organization do?
Our organization works very closely with communities, government authorities, and the local people living in and around the Okapi Wildlife Reserve to develop ways to help protect Okapi while also improving their livelihoods.
And what are some of the ways that your organization does that?
We primarily work in 3 pillars, and that's wildlife protection, where we work with the ICCN eco guards that patrol the forest, removing snares, arresting poachers. Also, community assistance. We have several programs in community assistance that help improve people's livelihoods, that allow them to also protect Okapi. And then we also have conservation education, where we go out into the community and educate people on the importance of protecting Okapi and protecting the forest, which the Okapi needs to live.
So where are you based? In Congo?
I am based in Jacksonville, Florida, but Berce here with me is based in Democratic Republic of Congo inside the Okapi Wildlife Reserve. This is his first trip to the United States this year.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting. Berce, can you tell us anything about life in Congo?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think there is much difference between US and Congo. Life is good, and then we don't have good roads like you in the US. But I think in Okapi Wildlife Reserve, we have a lot of villages with a lot of people living inside of the reserve, but outside also. We have security issues with a lot of armed groups and then militias, but life's still going.
So, do you have a presentation ready for us today?
We do. So the endangered okapi is only found in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in the dense forest in the central and eastern parts of the Congo. They were only discovered by Western scientists in 1901. They were one of the last major mammals discovered by Western scientists, but they had been known by all of the local people there for millennia. They moved through the forest slowly, quietly, eating leaves, munching here and there, but they share the forest with several other species of animals and several indigenous people groups. They share the forest with endangered bongo, endangered forest elephant, and in the reserve, they share the forest with the Mbuti people and the Efe people that have their entire livelihood centered around the forest. We have several programs that focus on protecting the Okapis habitat. Okapi need large, undisturbed tracts of forest to survive. If they have the forests, they can survive by themselves. So we do that in three main pillars, and that's wildlife protection, community assistance, and conservation education. We work closely with the ICC and Eco Guards, the photo in the top left, where they patrol the forest, removing snares, arresting poachers, and documenting any illegal activity. And then we work very closely with communities. The three other photos, whether that's supporting them so they have louder voices in the community, we provide them alternative sources of income to generate money for their families so they can purchase food, ensure their children stay in school, and be able to afford their lives. And then we also have programs in agroforestry because a lot of the people in the reserve rely on growing food themselves. And so we provide them a lot of seeds to grow, whether that's beans, rice, other vegetable seeds, and then also several trees that can produce fruit and also put nitrogen back into the soil so they can stay on the same plot of land for several years at a time instead of having to cut down more forest. So they can stay on the same plot of land so that they can grow food year after year. And then we also have conservation education, where we go into schools, educate the local youth on the importance of protecting the forest. They share those messages with their family members. We create radio broadcasts to several thousands of people that live inside and around the Okapi Wildlife Reserve on protecting the forest. And then we provide a lot of basic necessities. Healthcare is one for all of the staff that work in and around the Okapi Wildlife Reserve, all of the ICC and Eco Guards. We provide healthcare for them and their families. For the WCS Wildlife Conservation Society staff, and for all of our staff members and their families. Clean water sources. It's all about working with people so that we can help protect animals. So if you want to, I think if you tell your story, talk about your father, and that'll get you warmed up to talk about Okapi.
My name is Berce. I'm the program manager inside of Okapi Conservation Project. I've been working for Okapi Conservation Project since 2019, and then we are working inside of Okapi Wildlife Reserve. I remember when I was young, I saw my father working for protecting the Okapi. And then I went to the University of Kisangani where he made also his study. And then I came for look for job in Okapi Wildlife Reserve where he worked, where my father worked. And then he was also one of those who created the Okapi Wildlife Reserve. And then he was also director in this reserve, but he was killed by an accident car in 2002. So today, I'm really glad to do what you were doing.
Okay, so the Democratic Republic of Congo is located in the heart of Africa, in Central Africa. It is the second largest, I believe it's the second largest country on the entire continent, and 80% of it is encompassed by rainforests. The Okapi Wildlife Reserve is located in the far northeastern corner of Democratic Republic of Congo, and it was created because it had the highest known population density of Okapis. When it was originally created, they estimated about 3,500 Okapi were in the reserve. That number has since dropped down to closer to 1,500 or 2,000 Okapi that they estimate based on transects within the reserve. The total population throughout their range is really unknown because it's too insecure, it's too dangerous for us to go into the forest. Eastern DR Congo is known for insecurity and rebel groups, armed rebel groups that are in the forest. So it's too dangerous for people to go into the forest to collect that data. But on the map on the left, you can see their estimated range in orange. And then inside that red box there, that is the Okapi Wildlife Reserve. And it's right just under 14,000 square kilometers in size. It's about half the size of the state of New Jersey. And right now there are about 250 rangers that patrol the forest 20 days per month, removing snares, arresting poachers, and documenting illegal activity. Also documenting wildlife sightings. If they see an okapi or if they see a forest elephant or any signs of that, they're collecting that information and putting it in a large database to get an estimation or understanding of what the population is inside of the reserve. Okapi are rarely seen in the wild because they have very sensitive ears, and they will hear you before you have any idea that they're there. And so they're going to run away from you. And so that's why they weren't discovered until by Western scientists or described by science until 1901. But the local people, the indigenous people that live in the forest in harmony with Okapi, they've known that they've been there for several millennia.
The Okapi are facing many threats. We have inside of the reserve many mining sites, but also poaching. They are poaching, they are looking for bushmeat, they're looking for ivory, those threats, the big issues in the Okapi Wildlife Reserve. But also we have a big threat with immigration. People are coming outside the reserve, coming inside the reserve, looking for gold, looking for diamond, looking for bushmeat. So those are the main threats for the Okapi. But also people are looking for the Okapi skin, Okapi fat for several reasons. We are facing on how to stop those threats.
We have a lot of people coming from outside of the reserve, coming into the reserve because inside the ground, there's a lot of gold and diamonds. And so they're trying to illegally take that gold and diamonds from the ground. And while they're here, they need some source of food. So they will go into the forest and start poaching animals to eat while they're gold and diamond mining. Everything in Congo has the Okapi on everything. There's Okapi on their money. There's Okapi gum, Okapi cigarettes, Okapi logistics. Our healthcare center is called the Okapi Clinic. There's restaurants called Okapi. Everything is named after Okapis. But within the past 3 or 4 years, there's been an increase in Okapi trafficking for their skin, bones, and other parts for a multitude of reasons. So that's a new threat that we're facing.
What do you do specifically to make sure they're healthy?
Really, we just could leave them alone. As long as they have an untouched section of forest, they will survive. Our overall goal is just to protect the forest so that they can live and be by themselves. And with that strategy, we not only protect the forest for Okapi, we're also protecting the forest for all the other animals that live in the forest. So we're using the respect and love for Okapi by the communities to protect the entire forest. And by doing that, we're also helping protect and preserve the indigenous communities that have lived in this forest for thousands of years.
Can you give any specific examples about how you protect the forest?
Sure. So I think the biggest and well-known and most successful of our programs is our agroforestry program, which works directly with communities to provide them with food access and seeds and trees that allows them to farm and stay on the same plot of land. There's a technique called slash and burn agriculture. Every single year, they'll cut down trees on a new plot of land to grow their new food, and that food will take up all the nutrients out of the soil. So they're slowly cutting away rainforest. We call them our collaborators. We give them specific techniques and provide the resources, tools, and training so that they can use techniques that are widely known around the world, like crop rotation, nitrogen fixing trees, because nitrogen is a nutrient that plants need to grow. That's our main and most well-known program. But then we also work closely with women's groups, providing alternative sources of income so they're not as reliant on the forest resources, so they don't have to go further and further into the forest to collect food.
So, do you work at all to make the forest bigger?
Yeah, we do reforestation in our agroforestry program. I want to give you an example. This year, we had a goal to plant like 100,000 trees And then we are over 54,000 trees already planted.
This is the slide of our agroforestry program. And the top right, what you can see is our tree nursery. So we create these tree nurseries made out of locally sourced materials, and we hire local people to help plant trees. We collect the seeds from the forest. There are some native trees. There's some fruit trees that we distribute to our collaborators because it'll produce fruit to feed their families. In the top, you can see some of our people in our women's groups that are farming that looks like rice and corn. And so the agreement to make it more sustainable is the people that are participating in our agroforestry program will provide them seeds for the season, and they have to give a certain percentage of their seeds back to us so we can provide that for additional farmers joining the program. And recently, our agroforestry team, because of all of this incredible work that they're doing, they were recently recognized as Disney Conservation Heroes, and they were given a medal and a little Mickey plush, along with a big certificate and a little cash prize for all of their hard work in making sure that we're not only protecting the forest for the animals, but we're also protecting the forest and improving people's livelihoods.
So if there's gold and diamonds there, how do you work with the government to prevent that?
Gold and diamond mining is illegal inside of the boundaries of the reserve.
Exactly.
The Congolese government has a mining department that issues permits that allows you to mine for gold and diamonds outside of the reserve, but inside the boundaries of the reserve, it's illegal. And primarily we see artisanal mining, which is very small scale mining, where it's usually only a couple people.
Is there any ecotourism in that part of Congo?
We would like there to be ecotourism in this part of the Congo. It's still too dangerous. It takes a lot of effort to get a visa to travel to the Congo. Right now, we're located in a province that is under a state of siege, so no tourists can travel to our area. We would love our donors to come to the reserve and see our programs, meet our staff, meet several of the indigenous communities that are found locally, and potentially see Okapi. Other than going to a zoo, there's no place in the world where you can see Okapi in the wild.
Do you guys work with zoos at all? Because I have seen plenty of okapis in zoos.
Yes, we love zoos, and that's like my specialty. About a third of our income, a third of our revenue and support for our projects come from zoos and Okapi holding institutions, zoos or facilities that have Okapi. And so we work very closely with zoos that have Okapi to support our programs through their grants, funding, other opportunities. And zoos are our main outlet to communicate to the global population about Okapi. They really help us with awareness and letting the world know that Okapi exist. So yes, we work very closely with zoos. We love zoos, and they have been very supportive of our work since our founding.
So are zoos breeding them?
Yes, and that was part of the reason why 3 Okapi came from Congo to the United States, because a lot of the breeding of Okapi at that time, they were becoming a little inbred. They needed new genetic lines to refresh the genetics and the population under human care. And so that's why those 3 Okapi came over. But zoos have, for all endangered species, and for most species, I believe, they have what's called an SSP, or Species Survival Plan, which is essentially, it's Ancestry.com and also Match.com, where they know the genetic lineage and they have the genetic tree of every Okapi that's in human care. And they will make recommendations on which Okapi to breed together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, so that you can help prevent inbreeding of the captive population, so you don't need to take them from the wild.
Where can kids go in the United States to see Okapi?
I think there are 26 or 29 zoos in the United States that have Okapi, and it's usually the bigger zoos that you think of.
Okay. What do you see for Okapis in the next 30 years?
That's a deep question. I see a lot of hard work that will go into helping make sure that they have a place to live and thrive. I think there is hope for the next 30 years. I think there's a lot of movement on making sure that the Okapi remain protected, but we're also seeing more and more increased threats. And so the investment in our project and in the communities and in the protection of Okapi needs to increase over these next 30 years in order for them to have a safe place to live. I think the Okapi Wildlife Reserve is a fantastic place. I think if we all work together, put our heads together, be very collaborative with all of our NGOs, all of our partner organizations that are working in the reserve, I think we can get it done and have a safe place for Okapi to live and thrive, and opportunities for ecotourism for people to see them in the wild.
So what's your annual budget and who are your donors?
Our annual budget is about $1.2 million, and that's slowly growing. And all of our donors, about a third come from zoos and Okapi institutions. A third of our budget comes from there. A third of it comes from grants, and then a third of it comes from generous individual donors. We are a partner of the Wildlife Conservation Network, so we have a huge global support. On a relatively small budget, we get a lot done on $1.2 million because we're efficient with our funding and we know what works and what doesn't.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I'd just like to say thank you for this opportunity of helping spread the message of Okapi Conservation Project and the protection of Okapi in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's often difficult for us to take advantage of new audiences, so I hope that everyone that listens to this podcast, this video, will be inspired to help protect Okapi and support our project in the future.
Thank you for talking with me, Lucas and Berce, and thank you for watching. You can help animals by hitting the like button and subscribing to this channel. I'll see you next time on Nature's Guardians. Bye.